Five Guys Movies and Fries, the podcast where less than five guys get together and talk about movies we like. Today we're discussing The Lighthouse, romantic comedy starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. Today we've got me, Jeff. We got Knacker.
Hello.
Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
And Ortman.
Hey.
Quick synopsis of the film before we start gushing about it. Lighthouse is, hold on one second here, a 2019 Robert Eggers joint. Once again, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe as two lighthouse keepers who are working a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere.
Nova Scotia.
And get stranded there and just get drunk and have fun times. I guess we should probably start with Will because he's the one coming the freshest off of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this movie is fucking awesome.
All right, I guess on
It's a wrap.
Yep, there we go. sorry, my recording button was being fucking janky. Whatever. Anyways, cut that. Yeah, no, this movie is fucking phenomenal. I knew this movie's been hyped up till the max to me by two of these fine gentlemen, Knack and Jeff, many, many times. And I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, so I was really, really pleased that Jeff suggested this one. Because it is so fucking far up my alley now that I'm getting into kind of weirder art housey movies. Like, this is one of the weirdest, one of the art houseiest in my opinion, and so fucking well done. I mean, we'll obviously get into it, but like the camera work, fucking astoundingly good. The sound design is legitimately some of the best sound design I've ever seen in a movie. I guess heard technically, but
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I can see sound.
That's what this movie does to you.
Pretty fucking much. Like, holy shit, dude. After I watched this movie, I just like sat on my couch for like 5-10 minutes and like legitimately was shaking slightly because it was such a fucking ride. And not even like a thrill ride necessarily, just like and it is a thrill ride for sure, but like holy shit, like this movie's just fucking bananas. And it just keeps hitting you. You'd think this movie would be fucking boring, but it just keeps going and going, like just hitting you with more crazy shit, and then suddenly there's a fucked up dream sequence with some mermussy and fucking Willem Dafoe is like eating dirt as he's being fucking like buried alive, and he's still doing his lines somehow because he's the fucking most amazing actor of all time. Like, God, dude, it just, I don't know. This movie has fucking everything, and the actors fucking killed it. Are they the only two in the entire movie too? Like, I don't think we ever see.
There's a mermaid.
Oh yeah, you're
Mermaid,
right.
And then there's the actor,
the guy who plays his dead.
from Winslow, and the two leaving wikis are credited.
Yeah,
yes.
I think there's a total of 9 people in the cast.
Okay, yes.
Well, actually, 9 people, and we'll also mention the 3 trained-ass seagulls that actually did phenomenal. Like,
though they are trained,
A.
that's awesome.
Yeah, like I'll wait till it's my turn to talk more. Anyway.
No, that's awesome. I mean, obviously they were trained. Like, it would have taken so much effort to get like just rando seagulls to do that shit, but they seem so real. Like, it's definitely shit that seagulls would do. We've all been down to, all of us at least here in Duluth have been, oh shit, I just revealed where we're from. Oh god. Oh, shut it down. Doxed. We've all been down to.
The seagull feels so real because you see those real ass seagulls the entire movie. Like, none of it feels CG. So when he grabs that seagull, it feels like he's grabbing a seagull and smashing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Wait, was that CG?
It was.
I think it was like a dummy. It looked like
a prop. It totally looked like a prop when
should have looked into that first.
But it looks real good. Like it really paid off. Like
the IMDb does describe that they used real seagulls, but they were in a different location when it's just them in the shot when they were being filmed, and there was a prop that was getting smashed. Obviously,
yeah.
No animals were harmed. Yeah.
Right. Which is good.
Yeah. I think one of the initial scenes where he approaches the seagull with the wheelbarrow and it just sort of caws in his face. One of those shots was a puppet, also.
Yeah,
Oh.
that
But
makes
other than that, like the window, it wrapping on the window scene, like the seagulls you see at the end, those are trained. And then I know there's one shot where you see them all sort of gliding in. You see a flock of seagulls just kind of gliding in the air, and because the wind is so still, they look fake as fuck. They look like puppets themselves, but they just got lucky as hell with that. It's such an amazing shot.
Dude, some of the shots, like just like the ones with some of the waves going over like the lighthouse and just like the rocks and everything, like those shots are so fucking perfect. I don't know, when they were out there, I wonder if they just spent like days trying to get these shots or if they just got super lucky or something, because I don't know, I got pulled out of this movie like 5 times because I had to like take a piss one time, and then I had to like help Beth with a couple things and a couple other things, and like every single time I'd start the movie back up, I was right the fuck back in. Like, this feels like such a realized and lived in universe, even though we barely get any like background besides what's going on the lighthouse island, whatever the fuck it is. Do we ever get a name of what that island is called, like in universe?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it just says a small rocky island on the wiki, so we'll call it Small Rocky Island.
And when you say wiki, are you referring to Wikipedia or a lighthouse keeper?
Yes, I mean the website, but also I love
Which
that.
website?
Wikipedia. You may have heard of it.
Is that a PDF for keeping track of lighthouse keepers?
It might be. You know what?
Okay.
I love that is really what they're called too. Like apparently this movie was very historically accurate, which is fucking great.
That's kind of Robert Eggers' bread and butter.
Is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to a question I have, actually. Well, 2 questions. Has there been a movie like this insofar as like a movie that follows a couple wikis or whatever on an actual island at a lighthouse? And I mean like lighthouse keeper wikis, not a couple web pages.
Oh yeah.
And question 2, is this based on anything?
It's based on an Edgar Allan Poe short story and also a real account of lighthouse keepers who went insane. One of them died. Yeah.
That is fucking awesome.
It said the fucking
I mean, it's not awesome they died, but
Max
No, it
Eggers
was 200
initially
years
wanted
ago.
to Max Eggers initially wanted to hopefully write a screenplay based off the Edgar Allan Poe story, but he had real difficult time adapting it into a screenplay. So they started looking for other source material and landed on a 19th century myth of an ancient incident at Small's Lighthouse in Wales, where the two wikis were both named Thomas, and then because the fact that they were both named Thomas inspired had him decide to put an underlying identity arc in there.
Cool. Okay.
So Max Eggers is Robert Eggers' brother.
Yeah, they
co-wrote this together. Yeah,
fucking
very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That lends so much more credence to it in my eyes. Not that it needed it at all, but that's fucking awesome that it is based on like some previous stuff. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I just wanted to mention that they did research into interviews about Atlantic fishermen at the time in order to get the dialects and everything right about how they talk.
The research put into it, there's a lot of that.
Pattinson has an accent based on someone from Maine, and Willem Dafoe is basically a sailor from the Atlantic Sea during that time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They seemed pretty authentic. I will say there was a couple times, literally my like one, not even complaint, just like a thing that I noticed where I was like, was a couple times Robert Pattinson's accent was a little, I don't know, it just didn't fit for like the words he was saying maybe or something. It just seemed a little out of place for me, but literally only like a couple times. And that will not affect my rating of this movie. Yeah, I don't know, like this movie, like, God, dude, like, just, like, just to go back to like the sound design, like the fucking foghorn, so genius. Like obviously that's what they would be hearing the whole time, and that would totally drive you fucking insane. And the foghorn they chose, is that historically accurate too? Do you guys know any
I don't
info
know
on
about that, but I heard that one of the Eggers, was listening to that on YouTube on repeat when they were writing it to sort of make himself sort of feel deranged.
Yes, that's amazing. I fucking love that shit. Oh, that's good stuff right there. Sorry, you can tell I really love this movie. I'm like gushing over here. As I believe most of us feel that way. But like the foghorn, yeah, like holy shit, dude. Like just right off the bat, the foghorn is going off, and you're just like, what is that fucked up noise? Like it sounds demented, and it's
Yeah.
just a fucking foghorn.
Apparently, it is period appropriate. Yeah.
That's fucking, that's so legit. Holy shit, dude.
I
The
know.
first note that I have in my notes is the fact that that foghorn is like ever present through the entire fucking movie. It's like you cannot escape that foghorn.
The whole time,
Apart
dude.
from one, there is the scene after they start drinking the thieves' oil, the turpentine. There's a shot specifically in the foghorn control room, and there's nobody in there attending it. And
Yeah.
That what I think that is it's also hinting at the fact that there was maybe an opportunity for the tender to come back and pick them up if the foghorn had actually been working at that time.
Ooh, nice.
Like this, because there's such a storm rolling, it could be the one thing that the tender could have relied on to get to shore. Like,
Yeah.
But then
deep, fucking deep cut there. Sorry.
Well,
but
hold on, Knack. You're talking about a tender. Is that like who's that?
is that like a chicken tender or
No, if I'm using the term, I'm gonna look in my notes. But the tender is referring to the boat that comes back to pick them up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Not a chicken tender. Damn.
Yeah, pretty sure when there's a scene for that. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like god damn, dude, I literally could talk about every fucking second of this movie. Like the fact that he kills, like he gives them, he's like, don't kill the gulls, like you gotta be good to the gulls, and then he fucking murks the gull, and then the wind changes, and then the storm comes. Is that because he did that? Like, did he actually get cursed, or is everything said in this movie just supposed to be like in his head and he just went insane? Did any of that even really happen? Like,
I'm gonna go all up into that. Eggers really likes to blur that line. He did the same thing with the witch too, because it's implied that like everybody's kind of losing their minds because the mold on the corn
okay,
is that old fucking wives' tale.
yeah.
So it really blurs the line on whether or not what you're seeing in the movie is actually happening or not, and that's kind of what's happening here. Only instead of corn mold, it's fucking just gaslighting the entire way through.
Yes, dude.
Imagine you get gaslit so hard you straight up hallucinate, you know?
Dude. Like when Willem, like, well, and I'll just call him Willem because
here, it's interesting you're gonna bring that up. In the screenplay, they're referred to as young and old. If you want to refer to them, if it's easier for anybody to refer to them like that, it's fine, because otherwise it's Rob and fucking and Dafoe, like
or Tom and Tom, or
even in the
Ephraim.
commentary he just calls them Rob and Dafoe because they're they're just so much that much closer now. But
that's just who they are. Yeah,
but if it's easier for anybody, young and old is a great way to go about it, especially because of the identity switch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, and like that. God damn it, that is like fucking genius writing. Like, and if they got that from like a previously written thing, like, I mean, it's good that they grabbed that, because that is so. As soon as he reveals that's his name, like, what a mind fuck. Like, oh, your name's Thomas too. Oh my god. Like, now we're spiraling into like, are we the same person? Like, what is really even fucking happening here? But what I was gonna say is, when Willem reveals that he's been like, not reveals, but like when you first like really get, when did you, actually that brings me to another question, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. When did you guys think was the first time, like, when you realized that he may be getting like gaslit here? Because for me, it was when he was like, oh, you drank all the rations, or you ate all the rations, or whatever, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? And that's like the first time that hit me, maybe. But like, did you guys maybe figure that out earlier? Or?
Yeah, for me, it could be the scene, the initial scene where Dafoe is telling him that he never swabbed the floor.
I have a comment
Swab,
about that.
dog, swab.
I had a note about that.
Mhm.
So when they do that scene and he points at the floor, you see that floor for 0.2 seconds before that camera moves.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't get a chance to see how good the floor looks.
It's barely in frame. It just sits there for
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah, I think that's deliberate because I think he doesn't want us to know if he's being fucking lit or
There was a
not.
little bit of discussion between Max and Robert Eggers about that shot because it's one of the only things where you see the camera just do the straight vertical shot, and it's like they were hesitant for a moment, but they came in agreement. Like
it was the right
there.
call.
Yeah,
because
it
makes it
now that you say that, especially
super
it just
the right
muddies
call.
the waters even more.
Yeah, absolutely the right fucking call. What about you, Joe? When was the first time that you maybe picked up on that some mind fuckery was going on between the two?
Well, I wasn't thinking about that when I watched it. I can't really answer that question, but it seems like when what you guys were saying when he was berating him about not cleaning the floor, that was an early moment in the movie.
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
And I was just gonna say that's like a moment when Pattinson or Young seems sort of confused about what Dafoe is saying to him about what's going on.
Yeah, and like that's such a great scene for that. And like I was so in that world, in that moment at the time that like I didn't even like put that together that he might be fucking with him. I really was like, oh, like he fucking probably didn't, because he like before that point he had already been kind of fucking around. Like Pattinson had clearly been like starting to get Young had sort of been kind of getting like over this shit, right? Like you could tell he was like sick of this shit already, and so maybe so in my eyes I was like maybe
from moment one.
Yeah,
like the very first scene you see those two in the same room, Old farts in his face.
Yeah, dude.
At night when they're drinking and he chooses not to drink booze, he like makes him feel like shit for not drinking booze, and then sees him pouring the water, and it cuts to his face, and you see the smile on his face because he knows that water's fucking undrinkable, and then watches him fucking drink it. So he's like sticking with him from fucking jump.
Yeah.
And so I guess that brings up another question: is he the real reason that he went crazy? I mean, obviously it's a combination of a bunch of things, probably. But like right off the bat, like just already fucking with him, all that kind of shit's gonna eat at you and eat away at you unless you're like some kind of stonewall. Yeah, I can see that.
He's just trying to dom him, my guy.
Dog. And speaking of the farting, holy shit, dude. Fucking amazing. Like it's so funny because it almost, the first couple times you're like, like, cause it's a little funny, but then like it starts getting almost disturbing in its own way. Just I don't know, it's hard to describe, but because this world is so real and you're watching them like go insane, like the farting takes this turn from like, oh yeah, farts are funny, to like, oh, this is kind of gross, obviously, like, but like it's like gross, like it's fucking nasty. It's old semen, like.
I think saying that they both go crazy isn't accurate to the movie. I don't see Dafoe going crazy.
No,
I've gone along with the theory that the Lighthouse has enchanted Dafoe's character, and it intermittently throughout, like maybe not constantly. There's clear moments where like he sees Young's shadow. There's so many shots with this shadows looming large on the fucking background that it's the first shot when the shot where fucking Young stands up and Dafoe sees a shadow. He cringes. He cringes in sight of that shadow to me, like at the first time, as if he's coming back and forth between being controlled by the lamp. I
didn't even put that together. Yeah, that's awesome.
There's so many angles to this fucking film. I'm blowing my mind just trying to connect them, trying to connect things that I'm finding, and just ending up failing, but still just enjoying what I'm finding.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a second of truth in this movie. I think this entire fucking movie is a lie from moment one to moment done. We're being lied to by the camera. We're being lied to by the quote-unquote narration of Robert Pattinson. We're being lied to by Willem Dafoe.
I could dig that. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Joe?
Yeah. I think this movie is ultimately just an allegory for madness, like sea madness, like sailors often had. And you just gotta take it at face value and enjoy the ride.
Yes, and because I was talking to one of my buddies at work, and I've already suggested a few of our movies to him because he's kind of a cinephile, but he hasn't watched a lot of like kind of weirder art housey stuff like me. So I like suggested he should watch High Life and this, and he watched them back to back, and he said that he liked High Life more, and I was like, I wonder if you'd watch them in the opposite order if you would have liked the Lighthouse more, and he's like, that's possible, and he's like, the reason I liked High Life more was because I thought, I don't know, he likes sci-fi more, so I think that was a big part of it, but I thought it was interesting that he watched those back to back and then thought that High Life was better because they're both Robert Pattinson movies and they both show Robert Pattinson going fucking crazy. One's just in space and one's on an island with a fucking psychopathic Willem Dafoe with a psychopathic old.
Yeah, I really respect Pattinson for taking a complete career turn after Twilight.
He's
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I'll
The
go
guy.
back to say that just what Claire Denis said about Robert Pattinson in High Life is that Pattinson has a presence that just makes you want to film him.
Yeah.
And this Lighthouse emphasizes that too by ever so much.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, even like the Batman, like you can't take your fucking eyes off of him. He's like the best Batman because he's so fucking compelling to watch, and he's just like an emo Batman in the movie. But like you can't get enough. You're like
Well, seeing him cut loose like this, like you watch him in like High Life or like Batman or anything else, and his character's at least a little bit more subtle.
more
But in this
reserved.
movie,
Yeah.
him and Dafoe just got to fucking blast off and just
Oh.
chew every scene that they were in. So seeing him get to like cut loose and like really bust chops, like what really sold it for me for Pattinson wasn't the beginning of the movie because I've seen him play that like more subtle, quiet character. But like at the end of the movie, when he's just like acting like a child, he's like clapping his hands and fucking screaming
Yeah.
and shit.
Monkey
Yeah.
clapping.
This man like lost his marbles.
Yeah.
I'll say that Pattinson did make some really small but very entertaining contributions to a few scenes. One was where he's walking outside, just kind of it's later on in the movie, but he's walking out in the rain and he's just sort of lapping the rain with his tongue.
Yes.
He did
Yes,
that.
dude.
When he comes back inside from the rain with Dafoe to discuss that they've been stranded, he does this little like head shake to shake the rain off of his fucking head and shit. Like it's these little cute little manners that are just like they wouldn't be there unless he just sort of been like, I'm gonna do this. And I'm sure Rob was like, yeah, just go with that. And just,
Yes.
it's magical, dude.
He's willing to go the distance. He would punch himself in the face to get psyched before.
I fucking bet he would. Dude. He's
I don't doubt for a second this man would have jerked off in real time for this movie.
no. Apparently,
Yes.
this is what I heard is that Robert Eggers wanted to have a scene with the Lighthouse, and then it like transitioned into Robert Pattinson's straight up erect penis, like.
That's called a jump cut. Like in 2001, it goes from a bone being thrown in the air to that spaceship.
Right, yeah. But they said I think they either said like the production company or like the producers or whatever wouldn't go for it, or they didn't even like want to try because they were like, we're already doing enough crazy shit.
I mean,
here.
does just a shot of one bare cock affect the rating? Would it have to go up to NC-17 at that point? I don't think so. I would think
it would.
It would. Okay, so and then you have to go through a whole other process. Like I get it. I get that.
Like titties, and apparently mermussy are like no problem, but as soon as you show an actual cock, like you're donezo. So
more shit from the commentary that mermussy was based off of shark mussy.
Oh, nice. Sharkussy. Which we are well versed in, so yeah, that fuck, dude, that scene, we can get to that in a little bit, but let me see here. I'm looking at some of my notes. Let's talk about like the first Mermaid scene, like when Robert Pattinson goes out in the darkness, right? And I'm pretty sure that like right before that, he sees old up in the lighthouse like nude, I want to say. Like
There's
is that
there's two different scenes.
okay?
Yeah. One is where he wades into the water on his own.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, and
And
right
sees the
before
mermaid.
that, doesn't he look at the
I
lighthouse?
I can't remember. I thought they were two different scenes. I thought the one where Dafoe is standing right against the lamp windows is a different one. But
Okay,
I could be wrong. There's so many switches back and forth between dark
So
and light
much.
scenes and fucking.
No, the scene where he sees him naked is when he's in the shed abusing himself and comes out smoking a cigarette, and he sees him up there naked, and then it cuts back to Pattinson. He's like hiding around the corner.
That's-
See
Yes.
Defoe's shadow.
That's it.
Yes, yeah, you're right, and that's a little later, I think. But like the first mermaid scene where like he wades in, like holy shit, dude, what an incredibly well shot scene. Like
Yeah.
there's just nothing else I can say. Like the camera composition, the lighting, like everything. It's so spooky. You can't really tell what the fuck is going on. And in a lot of like a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I hate that. I can't see what the fuck's going on." But that lends so much to like the mystery and suspense and weirdness there. Like, fuck, that's so well done, dude.
It might be the one that first gives us a good glimpse of the trauma that he experienced from his logging accident.
Yes.
What happened to that?
Because it's the logs. Yes.
Yeah.
And I wondered what the fuck those were when I was first like watching it. I was like, "What are those like logs? Like I don't get it." And then like later on, obviously, you put that together when he talks about that, and you're like, "Oh, I fucking see now." So
I think that's a good spot to leapfrog into the aspect ratio of the movie.
yes,
4
4:3, I believe.
No, it's not. I thought it was
19-1.
4.3. It's 1.1, 1.2, or 1.19.
So almost just a
1.19.
perfect square.
1.19 by 1.
Yes.
Nice.
But I really, really love that choice. It makes the movie feel so claustrophobic all of the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, dude. It's genius. It's fucking it's honestly like I can't rain enough praise on this movie. It seems like almost every single choice they made was a choice they made, and it was a fucking good choice. Like it was.
They all paid off. Yeah.
Oh god, dude.
The aspect ratio is because it's sort of made to resemble old photographs,
Awesome.
Mhm.
sort of
That-
square shaped. Yeah.
That works so well because like this movie is black and white, but it's not black and white like old black and white films were. There's
I think
like
it
well, what I was gonna say is like sometimes the contrast ratio is like real fucky, and you can like maybe that was just like the version that I got for
yeah.
us to watch,
You
but
know, one interesting thing is that they had a cyan filter. That means there's no reds in the movie. And if the human face, like pimples and things would be red, like imperfections on your face would be red, so it turns the reds into black. And when we
Yeah.
watched this together, me and Knack and Jeff watched this together, you said like how when it's on a close-up of someone's face, every little movement they make, their face, the lighting changes on them, their hair throws shadows and things like that.
yeah,
I think
That's
you see
partially
that.
because of the filter, yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably see that the most in the end scene with him gazing into the lamp.
that
You
scene.
you see the blood
Yep.
start to fade away on his cheeks, and
Yes.
because he's covered, his face is fucking bathed in blood when he finally gets up there. But as the scene progresses, you see all that. You see all those shifts in fucking tone and shading. It's fucking amazing.
Yes,
No, it doesn't look like movies from the 20s and 30s for sure. I mean,
Exactly.
it does in some ways, but yeah.
Yeah,
In
it
some
lends
ways,
parts. Yeah, it lends elements of it, but it still delivers the detail and the just the effects that I'm sure that Robert and Max wanted out of this. Yeah.
it almost seems like they upped the sharpness a little bit too sometimes because there's like this weird graininess that you see on some of the scenes, like where
Oh yeah, it's very grainy. And
yeah,
the sky is always washed out.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's-
regardless. Yeah, whether there's
and it's so genius. That's so genius because it like makes it feel more ethereal and like fucked up. Like it makes you feel like you're crazy watching it. I fucking love it, dude. I was gonna say another scene too, where like what you were saying about the face and the shadows and stuff. That's really like where you can see every little motion is the scene where it's right up on Willem Old's face as he's like giving that huge monologue where he's like cursing Young. Like that, you can really see every little motion of his face that whole time, and it's just like really up close to him. You know, there's like a bunch of famous gifs from that scene, obviously, and like memes and shit, and I mean it makes sense because it's fucking iconic. Iconic is what I would call a lot of the scenes in this movie. Like there's so much scene, there's so many scenes in this movie that I've never seen anything even close to in anything else, and yeah, I mean like iconic. That's the word in my opinion for a lot of this movie. It's fucking impressive, dude. Let me see what else I got on here. I got some quotes, but we can talk about quotes when we get to the quote section. I wanted to talk about how the change from, and you guys can tell me to shut the fuck up if one of you guys wants to just take over, but
whatever you want to pass the torch, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Am I being played off the stage now?
No, just mentioning what we've usually done.
Sure. I want to talk about the how the change from day to night is like so stark in this movie, and it's like it's done in such a way that it feels like it's an actual dichotomy, right? Like it is so obviously that's how it is in real life. That's how it is in most movies. Yeah, it's day and night, right? But in this movie, it's so important, those changes, because at night is when like the madness is the most prevalent for the first half of the movie or so, right? Or whenever like the turn happens. But like during the day, it's almost like a reprieve where like, okay, we're in the daylight, everything's going to be okay now. There's just some crazy seagulls, who cares? He can deal with that. But then as like the movie progresses, it's like daytime almost becomes even more maddening in a way, because it shouldn't be as crazy. You can see everything should be fine, but like you said, everything's washed out in the sky, and then the storm's getting worse. So even during the day, it's like darker and like more fucked up shit's happening during the day, and like that's when he finds the like dead mermaid, dead, quote unquote, who knows, and that's when he kills the seagull. That's when he finds the whatever dead bird that is in the cistern, and so on and so forth, right? So like it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's like the dark, like night is bleeding into day, but it's almost like it stops losing its sanity and becomes just more insane. Overall, of course, the movie does that, but daytime loses that like safetiness to it that like at the beginning of the movie you kind of feel, because obviously as you're watching this movie, you know some fucked up shit's gonna happen. Like even if you didn't see any trailers or anything, you can just tell from the ominous feeling from, you know, the camera work and especially the sound design that there's some bad shit that's going to happen in this movie some way. Like some fucked up shit's going to happen. So you know, like that shit's coming, and like daylight's like kind of your safe zone, but then it slowly, well, not even slowly, it like pretty quickly morphs into like, no, this whole place is just fucked up.
There was a part where I was thinking that day and night had more of an influence on what's going on, but I think it just came down to me thinking about how Old tends the lamp at night, and then Young just tends all these others, the rigorous work during the day.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was trying to use it as a way to kind of like piece together what's happening, but again, we're being just gaslit through this whole thing. It's one other thing that threw me off was, oh, never mind. Go
ahead, Nick.
It's constantly throwing things at us intentionally to throw us off, not just gaslight us, but to put our attention elsewhere. Like the shot of the water after he puts the chalk in there to clear out the cistern.
Oh God,
it shows that effect in there, and plus we see him drinking water a couple more times, like once or twice after that. Something I'm getting some inkling like the water has something to do with what's happening as well.
No, I think
but then I thought that was being used to throw me off that scene.
That's what it is, right? Because like we get like the mermaid icon, right? And like that's like oh, is this a cursed item that's giving him like the madness? And then like it's the water, and then like
No,
the
I think it's
killing
just
of the
both.
gull.
I think he envisions the mermaid specifically because he has the mermaid idol, and that's where his mind is at. And I
Yeah.
think the swirls in the cistern are more foreshadowing for the storm that's about to hit the
Ooh,
island.
I like
That's
that.
better. That's way better. Yeah.
But like to Knacker's point, I think that's like what the movie is doing. The movie is gaslighting, and it is gaslighting you the whole time, as well as the characters are being gaslit. At least one of them for sure is young, and that's like that's so genius and well done. And obviously, there's lots of movies that do that and do a pretty good job, but I don't know if there's any movie that I've seen that does it to like this degree, where like they're just constantly throwing, like, oh, maybe it is a cursed, mermaid icon, but then like obviously we know that's not the case now because we're just being gaslit. But like, oh, maybe what's his name is Poseidon or whatever. But like, no, that's just
Well, I
bullshit,
think that's
right?
part of the genius of the movie is the fact that it just, because everything is called into question, it's almost impervious to us like trying to suss out exactly what things are because we don't know
Yes,
what's real.
yeah,
The only thing I trust really in the movie is like the very opening of it. Like when they
yes,
land and like when they have that first dinner together and shit, I trust that. And there are certain scenes where like I kind of feel like I can trust it in a way because I feel like it wants to show us genuinely, like the scene when he's painting the side of the lighthouse.
Mm.
yeah,
I think that's real. I think he's trying to show us like is he twitching it, you know what I mean, or is old fucking with him, like
Yeah.
he just wants us to see this real scene, or like the one with the floor, like them only showing us the floor for a second. He like
Mhm.
wants us to put us there but not give us the information we need to come up with a solution. That's where the movie is fucking with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and Robert Eggers confirms that in the commentary is when he has Young whitewashing the side of the lighthouse.
Mm.
He's like, is he doing it is he doing it because they genuinely want to make sure they can be seen in like actually genuinely trying to whitewash the lighthouse, or is he just tormenting him?
Yeah.
Is he just
Well, and as we learned by the end, it probably is just him tormenting him. Like everything that he wrote in the book lends credence to the idea that he's just been fucking with him the whole time and all that.
Well, we don't know. I think
we
like,
have no solid answers.
well, because we're seeing it from Robert Pattinson's point of view. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like he is jerking off in the shed all the time. You know what I mean? Like he is, the moment he starts drinking, he doesn't stop drinking. Like he just
Yeah.
drinks fucking constantly. So like
No, there's a moment. There's a moment where he's shoveling coal into the foghorn furnace and he just smells it. He smells it, sets it down. You see
Yeah.
that before Old comes out and says the rations have been fucking dampened. He picks up the bottle, smells it, puts it back down. That's one thing I just want to say with that. But
Yeah.
but other than that, yeah, they're
Other than that, like yeah. Oh, and you reminded me what I was saying earlier. Like my buddy, when I was talking to him about this at work earlier today, he was like, "So what did you get from this movie?" And I was like, "Well, fuck, I don't know if I got anything from it. It was just like a fucking ride." And he was like, I felt the same way, and that's part of why I didn't like it as much as High Life. He still loved the movie, but High Life had like a little bit more of a like not a message per se, but kind of, you know what I mean? Like it had
explanations
Yes.
for what you're
Yes.
looking for.
Yeah, whereas this movie is
You know what?
just madness.
You know what I would compare this to would be The Leftovers.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on a tangent, assuming that you guys have seen it, even though I know that you haven't, just because I want to talk about it really quick. In The Leftovers, the main premise of the show and a lot of the things that happen in the show don't make sense. It does a lot of the same things that this movie does, where like it throws things into question so you don't know what's real or what's not. And I think that it's a plus for that show as well as it is this movie, because it causes us to just not care about that and just focus on the overall story that it's trying
Follow
to
the
tell.
journey. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And focus on the characters. Like in The Leftovers, I don't really care about whether or not this man is God or whether or not dude can actually die and come back to life, because I don't know if I should trust it or not. Instead, I care about what that means for the character. You know what I mean? Like what do the decisions that Dafoe makes, like how those affect Pattinson, that's what matters versus whether or not like we're
the source of it.
Yeah, or whether or not Pattinson or whether or not Dafoe is like a sea creature, you know what I mean? Like it really forces you to engage with what's happening in front of you in a different way. And I really like that. It kind of laser focuses where your eyes are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah, I don't know. There's like a couple other funny scenes, not funny. when he throws the chamber pots and like they just splash right back on him and he just screams in madness. Like that's
Perfectly cut scream.
Genius. Like all of that is so good. There's a shot that is quite possibly one of my favorite shots of like scenery or background that I've ever seen in any movie, which is when I think it's like partially into the storm when it's like getting really bad and it cuts to lightning going across the sky and it's very slow and like blurred out kind of, and I don't know how else to describe it other than just super fucking creepy. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that scene where like you can clearly see like this tendril of lightning going across the sky and everything's like really dark around it and you can kind of see like the outline of the I think the island around it, but like god damn dude, that is just so brilliantly composed. Things like that just make this movie feel more real to me. I don't know, even though like it should have the opposite effect because it's like that's not what that shit would look like in real life, but it looks like that when you're having like a fucking nightmare, and that's part of what makes this movie so good too, I think, is like it is a fucking like this is like a nightmare. This is like a true nightmare scenario. I could imagine myself having like a nightmare like this and being like, what in the fuck? I can't get off this fucking island.
What's a nightmare they made? It's a nightmare that Dafoe made by poking this guy as much as he could, and it's a nightmare that Pattinson made by lying about a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? And like potentially being a bad worker.
Yeah. Yep. And he probably is. He probably is a bad worker. That's why he's had so many odd jobs over the years or whatever, like he was saying.
I'm so tempted to go back to that scene and pause on the floor, but I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of want to leave it the way that it is, but like I want to know so bad.
Never meet your heroes, Jeff. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a few different quotes written down here. I love the scene where Young is about to stab Old when he's sleeping, when he wants to go steal the book, and then he realizes he can't steal the book because he's gripping it, and then he wants to steal the keys, and then he's like, I'm just gonna fucking stab him, then I can get both or whatever. And like Robert Pattinson's face in that scene, like right when he's getting ready to stab him, is so fucking maniacal and twisted looking. It's one of the most frightening things I've ever fucking seen. Like it. I don't know how these.
Is it the face before, or is it the smile he gives after he's been told to get back to work?
No, it's that's fucking frightening as shit too. But just like he has like this like weird screwed up look on his face where he's like battling like internally, I think, whether or not he's gonna do it. But then like the madness takes hold for a second. You just see this glimmer in his eye, and it's like Jesus Christ, like I don't know how these actors do it, dude, if they've actually like murdered people or something, but like that's what it would look like, I think. Like they're just dude, they're just so good at their job.
A lot of the facial acting in this. I really like the scene when Dafoe slaps Pattinson and then it cuts back to Dafoe looking all meek and like going back to his food and being like, think nothing of it. I really like his facial acting there. That really stuck out to me this last watch.
Yeah.
Yep. Pattinson's also really good at providing those micro emotions.
Yeah.
Like the set that takes place right below the lamp of the lighthouse with the grate above them, there's only like 2 feet of free space in that fucking area. Yeah. And Robert Eggers like really doesn't like a lot of those scenes because there's so little room to fucking provide. But the scene where Young sees the tentacle above him, he's given like a foot and a half to provide tension, and he delivers.
Yeah,
like dude. He fucking brings it with the tension, dude.
So good when he's up there and then like some goop comes down, and you're like, dude just came, that's gross, and then a bunch more goop, and then a bunch, Yeah, then like a bunch more goop comes down. You're like, oh no, that's not what happened. Like this is some fucking, I don't know, like some eldritch horror shit or something. And that makes me want to talk a little bit about like how fucking Lovecraftian this movie is. It really reminded me of Color Out of Space in a lot of ways. It has to me at least, it had a very Lovecraftian feel to it. Which I'm sure was probably intentional.
It's foggy. It puts the viewer in a fog.
Yeah.
It the entire time.
Yeah.
Perfect way to describe it, Knacker. Perfect fucking way. Yeah, I don't know. I legitimately could continue to talk about this just myself for like an hour while you guys like pepper in things. So how about I pass
We
the
haven't heard much
torch?
from Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's pass the torch to Joe because like I legit will just keep talking.
Record podcast tonight.
Well, I've hit on some of my points already, but I just want to say I really like this movie. Really, really refreshing to hear people in a period movie talk like in an appropriate way, but also in a way that the audience can understand. The Witch also did this very well.
I gotta watch that. You guys have talked
Hell
about
yeah.
that a couple times now.
Yeah.
Is it very similar to this movie in a lot of ways?
I would say the biggest way it's similar is the effort and research done to put you in a world. Like,
Okay.
But yeah, there
Takes
are many
place in,
other
like, the
similarities, but that's the
17th,
first thing I'm going to say is the dialect, the screenplay. Like, yeah.
Wow, that is not what I would imagine this guy looks like.
What
He looked-
guy?
Robert Eggers. He looks like the guy who's gonna serve you like some fucking gourmet burger with some insane shake or something at like a weird fucking hipster burger place. But goddamn, can he make a movie? So, oh, he did The Northman too. I gotta watch that shit. I've heard that's really good too. Have any of you guys watched The Northman?
Yeah, I saw The Northman in theater. It was fucking great.
Awesome. All right, sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like there's some subtle, possibly Hitchcock influences with the birds, with the spiral staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, silent movies probably played an influence. There's multiple scenes where a character just screams. It's usually Robert Pattinson, I'm guessing. And you don't hear the scream. You just hear the ambient soundtrack in the background. That really evokes silent movies because obviously people would scream and you wouldn't hear it because it's silent.
If you it's barely there. It's distorted. You like every time he opens his mouth. You're talking about the final lamp scene, yeah?
There's other times it does happen earlier, but in the final scene, it is like a very compressed. Yeah, I think you do hear it. Then.
It like goes in and out a little too. I noticed like sometimes you'll like hear it, but then it kind of gets drowned out by that ambient noise. And like, what a fucking choice! Like,
yeah, I'm really jerking off the sound editors at this point.
Seriously though, like
there's a scene when he's sort of he's doing some chore and he's frustrated and he screams. Maybe it's when he gets the shit in his face.
Oh yeah, no, it's when he leaves the mermaid. When he leaves the mermaid.
There's a few of them. There's a few of them because it's the mermaid. Yeah. There's the one when he throws the chamber pots. There's another one when he's in the furnace room or whatever, and he screams in there too. I'm pretty goddamn sure, and you can't really hear it because of all the noise that's going on in there. And like,
yeah, I feel like it was a choice to edit out the sound, possibly.
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and it's genius. Like it fucking works so well. So I feel like a lot of people would watch this movie and be like, "Why is it so dark? Why is like the sound not good? Like the sound sounds shitty. Like I can't see what's going on." And like they'd so completely miss the point. And goddamn, what a travesty that is.
A lot of people would, but I feel like this also is an art film that a lot of people can appreciate.
Yes,
because it's funny at points. It's interesting,
Fuck yeah, it's interesting. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's scary, it's shocking.
I've met people on both ends of the spectrum with this movie.
The one and because we're also talking about sexuality and just two guys, there's I don't know why I'm even why I should pepper it in, but it feels like we're gonna get a lot more male fans of this movie. That because I don't think I've spoken to any female yet that really dug it. But I don't know. That's an irrelevant conversation.
I've kind of had the same experience, to be honest.
Okay.
This
No,
feels
I
like
think
a
you're probably right.
man movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's two fucking dudes farting around on a fucking island. I mean, what's more manly than that? I was gonna say though, Beth watched this movie like a few years ago when it came out by accident because she went to it with her friend. They thought this was like a romance because they didn't like do
It
any
is.
research at all.
They're
It
not
is.
wrong. They're not
Correct.
wrong.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And she would. I asked her about it, and she was like, yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It was really weird, and I was just like, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. It is really weird, but I think that lends a little into what you're saying too. Is it just I don't know. Let's be honest, okay? It appeals to the male fantasy, all right? That's
I don't
why
know.
we love it.
I feel like it's just for film nerds. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
preclude women. Yeah.
I don't know. We're just sexist, Joe. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We're not
Good to know.
enlightened
I
like
feel like
you.
this movie. Oh wait, I'll let Joe continue.
Yeah. Take it away, Joe.
Everything I read about the making of this movie makes me respect it more. One of the facts that wasn't brought up yet, I'll be surprised if one of you know this. I know, Knack, you've watched the director's commentary, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you know that Robert Pattinson was acting during this movie, but Willem Dafoe, he's actually a deranged wiki who just lives in a lighthouse. And they just filmed him in his natural environment.
God damn, that's good.
One real fact about this movie is that Pattinson and Dafoe didn't talk when they were filming it. They had their first real conversation months after it.
Really?
Whoa.
And they said they enjoyed each other's company later.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa, that's fucking spooky as fuck for some reason.
That's bringing up to mind the curse scene where fucking Old is going off with saying, you know, Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow.
Yeah.
Because they purposefully cut away from Defoe's speech to get a shot of Young, to get his reaction from the way he's doing it, and spending time apart, not getting introduced, not spending enough time between each other before that gives a much more genuine reaction, I would have to think.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a new trick by any means, but it's a perfect trick for this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That probably was a choice between them. And Dafoe chose to stay in a cabin or like a sea shack.
Yeah,
while
he
everyone
just
else
rented
stayed
out a
in the
cabin
hotel.
right there in the area. Yeah,
That's
in Nova
fucking
Scotia.
awesome. God
And
damn.
that's where he invited Robert Eggers over to talk about that curse scene specifically, just to suggest it and make sure, and hopefully got in the movie. And I mean, good lord, favorite scene, period. Like favorite fucking scene.
Yes.
Anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Willem Dafoe killed it during that scene. And also when he was talking while people were shoveling dirt in his face.
Dude, I
mean, he was like 60 years old when he made this. Like, why do you sign up for that kind of role when you're that old?
God, he
devoted.
So devoted, dude. Fuck, man.
Both of these guys are. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and like the only reason that Pattinson is not overshadowed, but you know, overshadowed, quote unquote, in any way is just because Dafoe has been doing this for so goddamn long. Like you could just tell watching this, like and like with the other movies that Pattinson's done, he's going to be one of the best actors of all time. Like he will go down in history as one of the best actors of all time.
This is by far my favorite role, even though I kind of liked High Life and I kind of liked the Batman. I don't know what else I would know him from. But I just want to say again, I really respect after like you're a sex symbol in Twilight and you take a role as an 1890s wiki. It's like
Eggers will agree with you too. He was saying like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but he believes that this is Pattinson's best work, you know, from everything prior.
Agreed, and I feel like it'll probably stay that way too. Literally just because he's in it with Dafoe. Like that's fucking A. This summer, Dafoe, Pattinson, The Lighthouse. Like fucking A, dude. That's what a lineup. You don't need anybody else in your cast if you got that.
I don't want to be the bearer or the bringer of bad news, but we've talked about this before. But the farts in this movie were actually non-diagenic.
Right.
No.
They're not from Willem Dafoe's anus.
I'd believe it if you told me they were, though, because I mean he's old. He's probably got a couple in the
I
chamber.
wouldn't.
At any
I would
time,
think
so.
if they were on command farts, we would see more physical acting with them. He's stable. He's stationary when these farts are taking place most of the time.
Yeah.
Except for that first one. He lifts a leg on that first one.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Yeah. All right.
That scene's so great when Young first goes up those stairs, and then you can't even tell Old is up there. Like you can't. Because he's hidden by the whatever. What is that, like the
first thing
fireplace
you
or something?
see is his piss stream.
Yeah. So good. Like that framing of that shot is and every single shot in this movie. It's just, you can tell. I wonder how long they worked on this movie, because every single fucking scene is like a labor of love, it seems. It's fucking
about to find out.
impressive.
Well, The Witch was from what, 2015, 2014?
Yeah. So a few years probably. I'm sure it says in the
photography 2018.
About 4 years, possibly.
development.
Oh, yeah.
Dead air.
Dead air.
Dead air.
I'm not finding it.
We've gone through Will's initial thoughts and then my initial thoughts. What do you think, Knack?
Oh, fuck. If you're ready to add another hour onto what we've already done,
Hell yeah.
I mean, everything that lends to the atmosphere of this movie. I mean, the orthochromatic lens, the 19:1 ratio, everything puts you in this world. Fuck, where do I start in this mile-long list of notes? Willem Dafoe is afraid of heights. I'll say that. Willem Dafoe doing the shots like the naked lens window scene, and the one where Young has to whitewash the lighthouse. Those were difficult scenes for him to do. Hold that out. Yeah, the lighting, the effects, it just takes over. The opening music sets the long sustained fogginess of that intro really does well. Fuck. I have a lot to mention about. Are we all here?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you're here. I
Sorry, I had to use the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Were you guys calling for me?
No.
Cut that.
Let's see. Oh, these are all just play-by-plays. Bad Luck to Kill a Seabird. I just like the nice touches that it also puts on making sure that our Pat's character is just even sometimes noticing things that make you wonder what kind of an effect everything is having when his cigarette goes out. Old is writing in his logbook, and they're talking about being God-fearing.
Yes.
And our Pat takes a couple drags off a cigarette, and then just moments later it just goes out, just adding to the possible effects of the world.
God-fearing, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
So good.
Man, I mean, we've already touched on a whole lot of what I really love about the whole fucking movie. Just
sorry, Knack.
our Pat is this is nothing. Like this will save. This will be a time saver.
Next, like Will said, this entire page of notes. Will said this entire.
So there was a lot of times where I was again trying to piece things together. I believe that old Thomas, was initially, has been enchanted after so many visits to the lighthouse that he's guiding Young to his doom, and then in turn also dies from that. Because it gets mentioned that Old has killed. Yeah, when Arpat finds the young one-eyed
Yes.
fucking assistant in a lobster pot.
Accuses him of having killed him. So do you
Oh.
think, Knack, do you think that he is actually enchanted by, like, the lighthouse itself has some kind of mystical power, or is it just
Yeah.
or
Yes.
is it just because he's crazy?
No, well, it working with only one other person on a lighthouse after so many visits could easily just make him vulnerable. That's why I go with the possibility of the island having its own power, because both of these guys are vulnerable.
Right. He had disadvantage on his
Old
saving
because
throw.
he's been there. He's murdered assistants there on the island before. And Young because of his traumatic experience with
I'm
the
not
logging.
sure Dafoe murdered anybody.
Oh, sure. Oh, right, I get that.
I don't think he found the head in the.
I'm talking about things. I'm talking about things that are lending to what makes me believe that the lighthouse has power.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yep.
Not trying to shoot you down by any means.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and it's like we've talked about a few times, right? Like there's so many different angles you could take on this movie, right? Because you could be like the mermaid icon and is like a cursed idol, right? And like the lighthouse has some kind of enchanting power, and like the killing the gull, like that curses them, and like fucking Willem Dafoe cursing him, like, or sorry, Old cursing Young, like curses him. And all that kind of shit. Or, it's all just him going fucking crazy. Or it's all just him being gaslit, or some kind of weird combination of all three, and plenty other weird shit. Like, that's why this movie is fucking, just one of the many millions of reasons why this movie is fucking genius. Like, I love that shit.
All the attentions to detail when it comes to the character, the production. I mean, that's a 70-foot working lighthouse they have on set. They built a furnace, they built a boiler. That lighthouse can be seen from up to 14 miles away.
So that's not a real old lighthouse. That's one.
No, they like pretty much everything you see on screen is built from the production crew.
Wow,
like,
they did
there's so much.
Yeah, they did a too good of a job. Like, it looks incredibly real. Like, it looks like an old lighthouse. I really thought that was like an actual lighthouse. That's fucking crazy to me.
I thought the same thing the first time I watched it.
Well, it is and it isn't.
I mean, you're right, but like,
that's what I'm saying, because the only other there's two other lighthouses in that area in Nova Scotia that are technically operable, but they don't use them because GPS exists. You know.
Yeah. You don't need it anymore.
So now that this production crew just made a lighthouse that shines farther than anyone closer in the area.
God damn, that is so cool.
That was that just adds to my love for it. Like,
do we? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, never mind.
Our Young's character is a logger, and you see him build. His shoulders are giant. Mm-hmm. His shoulders definitely outweigh the lower half of his body, and that just lends to him being a logger.
Mm-hmm.
I love
that. And kind of his menacing look too. Like, he kind of just like stoops over the much smaller Old, like, throughout the whole movie.
He's been through however many roles and positions he's just trying to get a new slate.
Yeah. It chose the wrong fucking profession.
Fucking I don't know what else I can say to just express how much I love this movie. From everything we've talked about it, I just can't really put it into words.
You could scream really loudly as you look into a bright light. I mean, that would convince me, Knack.
Yeah, I mean, the work R. Pattinson and Dafoe put into their characters' dialect, just Dafoe clearly being a sailor and Young being Arpat being a New England logger.
Yeah, them holding those dialects during some of those scenes is wild to me.
Yeah.
Like when Arpat's losing his mind and he's holding that dialect the entire time.
It's so good. Like, just I keep going back to that, but yeah, like it's truly fucking impressive how goddamn good everything in this movie is. Like, there's not a single, like, the set is perfect, the sound design is perfect, the camera work is fucking utterly astoundingly perfect. Like, it fits the movie. everything kind of wraps up in itself to make this movie so fucking good.
And so again, I'm all for the and I'm also with the gaslighting side of it. It's just so much happening on screen that I try to look into things that I'm still trying to make connections to what's
Yeah.
happening. So even though Old is likely lying, he also mentions that he spent time with nuns in Salem, witches,
Mhm.
which also makes him potentially familiar with magic.
Yeah.
Again,
Just
makes and in turn also could potentially make him vulnerable to any powers that the lamp actually has over anybody. That's one way my brain went, is just this island just devouring lost souls. However how many visits it takes, however, it's just gonna be two new guys that it can eat up
yeah.
in whatever sequence it wants. That's one way I really looked at this movie. This time around, like before that, it was definitely there. It was definitely obvious about just how everything's there to throw you off and just keep you in the dark.
The movie's very cyclical in nature. Like we
Mm.
have the lighthouse spinning, we have a lot of repeated scenes. You know what I mean? It's like our Pat working, and then our Pat seeing something he shouldn't, and then the two of them having dinner, and then our Pat working again, and then our Pat seeing something he's not supposed to see again.
Yeah.
So it feels very cyclical the entire, well, most of the time. And I think we talked about this a little bit when we watched it, but it feels kind of like Moby Dick in that way,
Mm.
where it's just about like showing the droning fucking work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we stay with him while he's doing the coal shoveling and the roofing and the painting and the scrubbing. We just see him working for the first half of the movie. Effectively, is just him droning.
Moby Dick is referenced in this again, the scene where they're discussing being stranded.
Yeah.
He's Young says, "Oh, we just missed it by a day. They're still coming here." And he's like, Defoe's like, "Devil's Tail," and Devil's Tail is another title for the Moby Dick.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Basically, the Moby Dick story, from what I remember hearing in the commentary.
I'm pretty sure Young even says like, "Don't give me your Moby Dick."
Don't give me your
nonsense or
Ahab shit.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. I wanted to say
Yo.
too, I'm with you. I'm with you, Knack. Like I don't know if this movie is just madness and like gaslighting. I really do think that idol, that Little Mermaid idol he has, had some kind of mystical energy power over him slightly. But that's just me loving, eldritch horror, kind of Lovecraftian shit. Like I want there to be some kind of,
Well, think about it from
weird
the other
hidden
side.
meaning
So,
to
like,
it.
this man's whole day is just getting gaslit, getting called a dog, and having to bust balls doing a bunch of garbage work. And the one time during the day where he gets to enjoy himself and like let loose is when he's staring at that mermaid idol pulling his dick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he becomes hyper focused on this thing.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
I'll say that the movie does because it's also providing just this big line fog. There's enough happening within the entire scene that makes you just want to piece things together. Makes you. We've already touched on that, but just to see both perspectives of the movie that way.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the production of it. Eggers mentioned that because he's after The Witch, he's tackling misery again. He wanted to make sure there was comedy lined up in this miserable story. That's something I wanted to just throw in there. But yeah, there's so much I could say about it. This movie is almost better every time I watch it. Like it holds up from the first time to now. I will watch it at any given moment. I can't turn away from it. But now you get your turn, Jeff.
We've covered just about every base I've got. One thing that we haven't really touched on too much is the relationship between Dafoe and Pattinson specifically. You know what I mean? Like they're when they talk about
role reversal before.
Well, when they talk about it in like on the wiki, Eggers was saying in an interview that they viewed them as like father and son.
Yeah.
They wanted to have this whole father and son thing going on. But I read it in a much more romantic way. Like it feels very sexual from front to back to me.
Mm,
It
okay.
almost feels like Dafoe is fucking with Pattinson and trying to sleep with Pattinson effectively, is how it feels to me.
Okay.
Interesting.
And it's Pattinson struggling with that. Because you see that scene where like they almost smooch and like
Yes.
they're both leaning into it.
Yeah.
And then
Did you see what Eggers mentioned in this? He's like, when Eggers was asked if it's a love story, he said, "Am I saying these characters are gay? No, I'm not saying they're not either. Forget about complexities of human sexuality or their particular inclinations. I'm more about questions than answers in this movie."
And he
Yeah.
also mentions in there, let's see here, he says the film's subtext was influenced by Freud, and he hoped that it's a movie where both Jung and Freud would be furiously eating their popcorn. So, I mean, obviously he wants, obviously, but yeah, he like really pushes for that kind of weird sexual tension and everything. And I mean, it definitely seems to come to a head at some point.
Yeah, those are valid.
I think the play between these two in this movie would make a perfect companion piece to Whiplash. I think watching these two movies side by side, you could glean a lot out of the both of them.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
it's very similar dynamics in both.
Never. What's Whiplash?
Whiplash is J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. Miles Teller plays a really pretty talented drummer trying to get into a very, very
Okay.
elite.
I know what you're
class
talking
of
about now.
musicians. Yeah.
Jeff showed me a scene from that was fucking intense.
Very similar. He's like gaslighting Miles Teller's character and is like very verbally abusive to him, sometimes even physically abusive to him to try and get him to submit, very much like Dafoe's character is doing with Pattinson. But we're just seeing two separate turnouts. Like in Whiplash, we see that work into molding Miles Teller's character into what the older figure wants, versus in this where it causes the younger character to snap because he just picked the wrong dude to poke. But the dynamics between the characters are the same until the end, to me. Anyways, that's how I read it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like a lot of the subtle ways that Dafoe fucks with him. There's just so many little bits in this. It wasn't until this time that I watched it through that I caught Dafoe dancing on both legs while they're drunk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All the dancing was fucking gold. Fuck, dude. It's almost like there's no point in talking about this movie because every fucking scene is so good. But of course, like, it's awesome talking about this movie. Like, God.
Yeah, he's on both of his legs like it's not even broken. But then when he's like chasing after him with the axe,
you can see him limping pretty hard, yeah. And what a great scene that is too. Like, that's super menacing and man.
I think that's part of why he wants to get him drunk all the time. Because then he can act with him the way that he wants and treat him in the way that he wants. You know what I mean? He's getting him liquored up so he can get him to spill his beans, even though he tells him not to. He's getting him liquored up so that way he can get close with him, even though that's clearly not something that Arpat wants. It's just it's all about control.
Yeah.
I think that scene of Arpat walking Dafoe like a dog on a leash is going to live in my brain for the rest of my life.
Oh God, dude. Talk about a sexual scene.
That makes Freud blush.
Yo, Dafoe straight up giving that monologue with dirt getting thrown into his mouth.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the performances are without question legendary. From
there is not another performance as good as that part right there that I've ever seen. Like, you would have to be like getting actually physically cut or something while still delivering a monologue for me to be like, yeah, that's more impressive.
And if it wasn't already like known, it's freezing cold in Nova Scotia where they're shooting. It's what the scene where the two of them are walking out in the rain to get back into the cabin. They're out there in those raincoats. Robert Eggers is behind the camera in like 5 jackets, and he's still freezing. He's still fucking freezing cold. That scene where he's doing the monologue, getting buried. Willem there's like a 2-foot puddle behind him. He's laying in cold water throughout that whole thing. Anyway.
I heard that they didn't use any rain machines like they normally do in movies because the natural elements on this little island were so intense. Like they actually had waves and rain and wind.
So
It was all
impressive.
real.
There's one or two, maybe at least one shot where they did use artificial rain, but I don't think it was a
Oh.
rain machine. I think it might be CGI or just an effect, a post effect.
Okay.
But it was one particular time where they wanted rain and they didn't get it and they had to shoot it. So anyway,
You're good. I'm just thinking for a second. Yeah, overall, I don't know, man. This is definitely one of my top faves. I like this movie a lot. I think it's got a lot of meat on it, and I get more out of it every time I watch it. It's thoroughly enjoying every time. I know exactly what's going to happen, and even still, I'm biting my nails. One little thing I caught. So there's this joke in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies where they're like stranded on an island. And Jack Sparrow's like, I have rations buried here. And then he digs up a box of rum and it's played as a joke. And we see that exact thing in the Lighthouse.
you're right.
Only I don't laugh. Instead, I just feel a pit in my stomach because I'm like, oh shit.
That's their rations. They're gonna die. Like that's what they're planning on. Drinking
Yeah.
themselves to death.
I can understand noticing that kind of connection, but
Mhm.
to me, I'm just noting they're in a lighthouse and
It's just the comment
it's
of
just
how
a
it,
coincidence.
the
Coincidence
feeling from the
yeah.
same joke in two different spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's
The same
that's-
feeling I got when he busts out that can of turpentine.
Holy shit, dude! When he
That
fucking
monkey pump.
Monkey pump.
adds that fucking honey in there and they start getting fucked, I was like,
Oh.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Thieves oil, what they call that.
The look of amazement and joy on Dafoe's face seeing him stir that.
It's like, hold on, hold my beer, I got
What
this.
is this sorcery?
Oh, dude, so good. Motherfucker, this movie is. I think this is the best movie I've potentially ever seen, and definitely the best one we've watched on this podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my faves. It might even be my top. I really like this movie.
It's been a long time since I've had a movie that I would call my favorite movie. It's just really hard for me to pick one.
Yeah,
But this is making a pretty fucking good case for it.
I'm pretty much wrapped. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Touch
I'm-
on
Oh, no.
No,
hold on.
Jeff is who I was asking.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was like, well, hold on. We got to do our quotes, man. We got some fallen quotes from this movie.
Mine isn't so much a quote as it is just the entirety of
Defoe's
Pattinson.
curse.
Well,
Oh,
the whole
Pattinson
movie.
digging into Dafoe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You smell like old jism.
Yeah, that
Like
whole
hot
scene,
onions
holy
fucked a
shit,
farmyard
dude.
shithouse.
Oh my god.
Your farts, you
Yep.
goddamn farts.
Yeah, fucking farts.
So
Oh yeah, that reminds me of one other little thing that Pattinson did during shooting that was his own thing on the spot was drinking little bits of water dripping from the set. Like it's so unsanitary. He just kind of like grabbed. I can't remember if that's on screen or not, but he actually just fucking lets a few drops of the water dripping from the ceiling land in his fucking mouth, and Eggers is like, that's so gross.
You just got asbestos right in your mouth, buddy. You can't sue us. You signed a waiver, but also, what the fuck?
The scene after the storm is the set is rank. That set on like in IRL, that set is disgustingly smelling.
I'm sure, dude. Like it's. Damn.
how about you?
How'd
Joe?
they film that? How the fuck did they film that shit?
There
'Cause
was
if this was really built on like an island, how the fuck did they get all the water just crash?
that's at like at the very least the scene where water is gushing out of the window, not necessarily into when the two of them are under the table. It's all practical. There's live shooting for like 95%, 90, yeah. Majority of what you see on here is practical effects.
Impressive.
Like,
As in real waves crashing onto the lighthouse.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Joe, do you have a favorite quote?
I love all the references to Titan and Neptune and the way
Proteus,
a lot of the things that Willem Dafoe says.
Yeah, his monologue in particular is fucking inspired. That's like
I
the
really
only
love
way to
that
fucking
If I had a steak, I'd fuck it.
I'd fucking yeah, dude. Yeah.
I think my favorite quote, which really sets it just adds to the horror tone, is "Why'd you spill your beans, Tommy?
Yes,
Why'd
and
you
it
spill your
just
beans?" And
why'd
then
you spill your
it's panning into that long corridor because they had to build like the foghorn control house as well as like living quarters. So there's this that's not an effect. That's an actual like extremely long hallway going from one house to another, where you see all those windows lined up, and that scene catches me every time.
It's spooky as fuck, dude. That hallway is spooky as a motherfucker.
Everything done in this film, everything done, period.
Let's
My favorite quote, I definitely liked them talking about the cooking. Like, I thought you liked my cooking. How can you not like my cooking?
You're fond of
You're
me,
fond of me, lobster. that's
Don't be
my
such a bitch.
yeah. That's my favorite. You're fond of me, lobster. I see that. Like he's so concerned.
How could I
about
possibly like the horse shit that you cook us for
You're
dinner?
like a married couple. It's a married couple fight, dude.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so fucking good. Yeah. And then
Well, the scene ends with, "All right, have it your way. I like your cooking."
I like your cooking.
yep.
Yeah.
That was the other quote I had on here. Yeah.
Such a good
Comedy
punchline to that
horror
fucking scene.
elite.
All
Elite
right.
comedy horror.
It's so good.
They should have added a laugh track just to that part.
Just fucking
All right, I have it your way. I like your cooking.
Yeah. You guys
No, just that fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm pump.
Yep.
Oh no, I almost want to hear the guitar strums from the Dick House promo from Jackass. Do 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 do.
Oh yeah,
I almost hear that right there.
That's good.
Let's get some ratings in this beast.
Hell yeah.
10, period, 10.
Yup. What do you got, Jeff?
For sure.
Yeah. Joe?
Well, I've already rated it on Letterboxd. I give it an 8.
Nice.
The one criticism I have is that I just generally don't like art house movies. They seem to like evoke like college students projects. Like you have a scene of a person, then it cuts to rotting fruit, then a person smiling, then a rotting corpse. And this movie does kind of evoke that kind of artsy style.
I feel like that's dialed down a bit, though. If you
it
put
definitely
this against
is.
like Lynch or something,
It works for
Right.
this movie because I see it as an allegory for madness.
Yeah.
So,
Which would definitely be back and forth like that.
yeah.
You're gonna have a real tough time with a lot of our picks. We're just art house freaks over here.
Right.
No.
I'm gonna give it 10 mermussies out of 10 mermussies. So. You find me another movie where I can see me some sweet mermussie, and we'll see if that changes. But for now,
Why am I splash? No, it doesn't.
Homie, have you never seen The Little Mermaid or what?
The Shape of Water, I guess, but that's like mermic instead of mermussie. So. Talk about a sexy movie.
All right, so my selection is a Korean film from 2016. 2016 called The Wailing.
Okay.
It is.
Is this our last for the horror section?
Yeah, I'm last in line.
Oh God, so I gotta come up with one for next time.
That is correct.
Do we know what we're doing for our next thing?
It should be personal.
Correct.
Should be personal run.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, should be personal run. But yeah, this is by Korean director Na Hong-jin, and I'm actually I mean, as much fucking fright and horror as I can get out of a movie, like a lot of what we've seen this run, this one frightened the fuck out of me. Like it's close to Possum in terms of how much it's frightening to me.
Oh shit.
So hopefully yeah, I hope this one ends well on the run.